What's up guys, this is Zach with Toptic Nation, and today we're going to be looking at another Burning Shadows deck in the post-rotation format of the 2018 season, and that is going to be Garbodor Trevenant. And just as a reminder, we are covering a lot of other post-rotation decks. We've done Greninja, Metagross, just to name a couple of those, so be sure to check those out if you have the chance, guys. But we are going to be looking at a Trevenant Garbodor deck today. This is a deck that isn't really in the spotlight as far as the competitive scene goes, but it did kind of emerge as a deck once Guardians Rising came out just a couple months ago. Now, what makes this deck kind of interesting is the fact that it's really trying to punish your opponent for playing trainer cards and item cards in particular. So we have the Trashalanche Garbodor, the infamous Trashalanche Garbodor that kind of shook the format when Guardians Rising came out. It has that Trashalanche attack for 1 energy, doing 20 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard. Now, prior to Guardians Rising, this was a very fast format. We relied on things like Max Elixir, Trainer's Mel, Acrobike, Shaman EX to use that setup ability and keep burning through cards, but Garbodor was pretty much a single force in kind of changing how players played the game. So, we kind of shifted away from that really aggressive turn 1, turn 2 kind of start, and now we're at the point where, if you're whiffing the turn 1 Brigette or the turn 1 Fan Club, you've had a pretty bad start and you're gonna have to just kind of manually set up. So it's a very slow format right now, slower I should say, maybe not as slow as some of the previous formats, but it is much slower and it gives both players a chance to get set up here. But Garbodor is still really good in my opinion heading into the next format because people are still playing upwards of 25 to 30 items per deck, and so mid to late game Garbodor is just really good. Once you have 8 items in the discard with a choice band, you're doing the magic number of 190 and knocking out most of your opponent's EXs and GXs, and then even later game if you can get 10 or 11 or 12 items in the discard, which isn't really uncommon, you're going to be knocking out some of the big heavy hitters such as Garbodor GX as well. So Garbodor is really just kind of serving as the main attacker of the deck. We're also playing Trevenant though, and I think Trevenant is going to see a bit more play going forward. We don't really have Forest Giant Plants anymore, but I don't think this deck really needed it to begin with just because Trevenant's more of a secondary attacker. So Trevenant has an interesting attack called Poltergeist. It does 30 times the number of trainer cards in your opponent's hand. So they have to show you their hand and it does 30 damage times the number of trainer cards you find there. So this is for a DCE, so you can just kind of dig through the deck, attach that DCE, and kind of go to town on your opponent. And again, if you find 5 items and have a choice band in your hand, that's going to be doing 180 and doing the magic number to get the knockouts. So, well, not 5 items, but 5 trainers, I should say, in your opponent's hand. So, they're playing a lot more trainers than they are just items, because items are counting as trainers, supporters count as trainers, stadiums count as trainers. So as you can see, that can definitely add up. So if your opponent is not careful and they're just kind of holding on to their supporters and their stadiums and stuff like that, that damage is going to be adding up, and Trevenant's going to be either 2-shotting or 1-shotting your opponent. So I think Trevenant is a natural partner to Garbodor. Basically, your opponent's going to get punished whether or not they hold on to their trainer cards or if they discard them. So either way, kind of puts your opponent on edge the entire game. Now, we also play a couple copies of Drampa-GX. Drampa has 3 really good attacks here, and they all kind of work with the flow of the deck here. We have Righteous Edge. It's doing 20 damage, knocking off special energies. Again, we do have double colorless energy and rainbow energy, especially in other decks that might play Drampa, such as the Zoroark variants or the Garbodor variants. So really good in that kind of scenario. Berserk, of course, is doing 80, and if your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them, it does 70 more damage. So now we play cards like Guzma and Float Stone to make sure we can retreat out, and that's going to let Drampa just kind of finish cleaning up the job and taking the knockout. So and even with a choice band, Berserk is doing up to 180 damage, so that is a lot of damage for a couple of attachments. And then finally Big Will GX, and to me this is the main reason why we're playing it in the deck. Big Will GX, we're not really using another GX attack anyway. Tapu Cure, not really worth it. I'd rather be a little bit aggressive, but the early game, if I am playing a Brigette or something like that, I get Drampa, go ahead and Big Wheel GX, draw 10 cards, and then kind of bait my opponent to either play an N or I get set up pretty well. So overall, I think Drampa is pretty good. And, another option in the deck, since we are playing DCE, we are playing a thick count of Choice Band, it might actually be Tauros GX. We haven't seen Tauros in a long time because it just kind of died off. I'm not even sure why, to be honest. With a Choice Band, of course, it's doing 90 damage for a DCE with that Horn attack. And then the GX attack is, I think it's Mad Bull GX, 30 times the number of damage counters on Tauros. So you might even want to consider doing like a 1-1 split between the Drampa and the Tauros. That might be something to consider. But as far as the other Pokemon in the deck, we're playing 3 copies of Tapu Lele. That Wonder Tag ability is going to be so good going forward, guys. If you can, if your local card shops have Tapu Leles, if you're needing to buy a couple, I would definitely invest in at least 3 or so. Maybe some aggressive decks might play 4, but I think 3 is a pretty solid count going forward. They were probably $25, $30, $35 range, but I've seen them as high as almost 50 now. So I would definitely invest in them before they shoot up any more for the coming rotation. But Wonder Tag is going to let us grab a supporter every turn. And as you can see here, we have so many supporters in the deck here. We've got Sycamore, those are just kind of our consistency cards, Kukui, Guzma, and Brigette, so lots of supporters. We're rarely going to be whiffing in the deck, and that's why Tapu Lele definitely makes the inclusion here. And speaking of the supporters, nothing too out of the ordinary. Brigette is getting our GXs and our basics out as early as the first turn. The Guzma is making sure we are retreating our Trevenants or Garbodors if they're damaged into the Drampa. It's going to let us just kind of go to town on our opponent, Guzma out something that's within the range of a KO and just get those cheap KOs. And then a couple copies of Professor Kukui just to make sure we are hitting that math if necessary and drawing a couple extra cards. So all in all, a pretty thick supporter count, and I think that's how the rotation is going to be. I think that's how a lot of people are going to be playing their decks from now on. Like I said, we don't have those luxury cards like Versus Seeker or Trainer Mill anymore. We do have Random Receiver, but I don't think Random Receiver is quite as good because it's really just kind of a coin toss whether or not you get the supporter you need or you get something that's completely, irrelevant for your turn. But in general, I think a thicker supporter line is probably going to be the way to go going forward. And as far as our items go, we're not even really playing a lot now that I see it. We have 4 Ultra Ball, just to kind of search out our Pokemon. We have 4 Choice Band. 4 Choice Band might seem like a lot, but this is a very aggressive deck. A lot of times you are just within a 10 or 20 HP range of getting that knockout, and Choice Band combined with Professor Kukui is going to make sure that we can always get that if we need to. We're also going to be playing 2 copies of Field Blower, and Field Blower is mainly just there if your opponent's playing like Fighting Fury Belt and maybe they would survive the attack, just kind of knock those off or knock off opponent's stadiums like Altar of the Moon or Altar of the Sun, whatever stadiums that they're playing. We just want to make sure that they are discarded pretty quickly within the game. And then finally, we're playing 2 Rescue Stretcher and 3 Float Stone. So Rescue Stretcher is really good just to get those Pokemon out of the discard. Maybe you're short of the knockout. You just need to get that Garbodor out and Trash a Lynch, and it's in the discard, but you don't want to shuffle it in the deck. You just play Rescue Stretcher and get it back, so it works really well. We're not playing Super Rod because I think 7 energy is plenty for Garbodor. It just needs that single attachment to attack. An option might be Special Charge, but honestly, I think 4 is plenty enough. I mean, Trevenant is the secondary attacker. It's not like you need one out every turn, and the same goes for Drampa. This is really a Garbodor focused deck, and those are our secondary attackers. So I think 4 DCE is pretty good there. And then finally the Float Stone, as I mentioned, just to make sure that Garbotoxin Garbodor is always activated. We're trying to shut off those abilities. Next format is still a very ability reliant format, as you can think of a number of decks that are using abilities like Garbodor GX, Volcanion EX, Greninja Break, Metagross. I mean, everything you can think of. I think every deck relies on abilities. So, Hex Maniac might have rotated, but Garbodor is still a thing, and I think it has some natural synergy with a deck that already plays Garbodor, so that's why we are playing one. But that should cover pretty much everything, guys. I've been testing it online and it's been pretty fun to play so far. Really no issues setting up. I mean, you have pretty much everything. You have the standard kind of ball engine. You have your Brigettes and Tapu Lele's and everything. So it's been, pretty easy to set up. It's been really aggressive. Garbodor, especially the mid to late game, is just really, really good. And then Trevenant and Drampa, they just kind of serve as your early game attackers. So your opponent might be pretty smart. They might kind of get around keeping all those trainers in their hand, but then Garbodor will just kind of sweep in the end game. So overall, I think it's a really interesting deck going forward. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into a game I just played on PTCGO so you can see the deck in action as always. Okay guys, so we are going to go ahead and get started with this game. So it looks like my opening hand is kind of bad. I don't have a supporter card, but on the flip side, I do have a Trubbish and a Phantump on the bench, so not the worst hand. Maybe maybe my opponent can play an in or something to get me a fresh hand, or maybe I can top deck something. But right off the bat, we do see a Brooklet Hill. We see Volcanion come down, so this is definitely a Volcanion EX deck. And oh, we also see a Kiawe, so Kiawe is going to put 4 fire energy from the deck onto this Volcanion. So my opponent is having a pretty amazing start here. He's got 5 energy off the board just from a supporter and an attachment for turn. So I'm kind of looking at my hand and, oh, this is pretty bad. So, I mean, I guess I can attach to Trubbish, but it looks like my opponent really hasn't even played many items. They just kind of played their supporter and passed. So maybe they don't have anything either, or maybe, he has the Sycamore or the N or something. And then Brooklet Hill throughout the game, unless I can Field Blower it off, is going to be really good for him because he can get Staryu, the Volcanions, any other water Pokemon I guess he's playing. But he does play an N, and he gets me a really good hand here. So that is going to help me quite a bit. I really needed that. I feel like I was going to lose if I didn't get a supporter, but I should be okay now. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the Choice Band, and it's really just up in the air. He's playing a lot of, he has a lot of cards in his hand, but I need the DCE to hopefully get that knockout, and of course I whiff it. So, I'm not really focused on one-shotting the Volcanion right now. I really just need to focus on kind of two-shotting it, maybe trading those knockouts, because eventually I can just kind of win since I'm just playing a bunch of single prize attackers. But if I continuously just, keep whiffing the energy I need, then yeah, I'm probably going to lose, and that's not going to be good. So, I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball. I'm just going to try to get another Phantump out since I know that this Trevenant is probably going to get knocked out. Volcanion normally can't attack the following turn with Volcanic Heat, but you can get around it if you play like Switch or Escape Rope or Guzma or something like that. So I have to just kind of assume that he's going to be able to take the knockout. And I didn't want to have to discard my Choice Band, but, long term, it's probably better that I keep getting more Pokemon out here. And as you can see from my opponent, he's having just an amazing chain of events here. He's getting the Max Elixir, he's getting the baby Volcanion that can just take knockouts by itself, and Trevenant is weak to fire, so that is unfortunate about this deck. The Volcanion matchup is a little bit iffy. I would say that your focus is going to have to be on the Garbodor instead of the Trevenant. Maybe attack mid to early game with the Trevenant, but Garbodor is really going to kind of decide the game, assuming you can get plenty of them out and trash a lynching. So I'm going to Tapu Lele, I'm going to Wonder Tag for a Sycamore, just go ahead and attach the Phantump, put it on something that I can use later on, and, I can use Trash Lynch this turn, but the downside is that it's just not doing enough damage. I think it's only doing like 80 damage right now, so barely two-shotting the Volcanion, but I don't even want to have to knock out Volcanion, because then it pretty much makes my opponent also play the 7-prize game. So at this point, he's got a couple Volcanions that are almost powered up. I don't think he can knock out the Garbodor with the baby Volcanion, so he's probably going to go for the Volcanic Heat. And he's already 2 prizes up, and he's about to be 3 prizes up. So, I mean, this is not the best turn of events for this game so far. So yeah, Volcanic Heat is going to hit us. Garbodor really needs to get into play here. The Garbotoxin Garbodor, we have it out, but we need to get that ability activated. We need to put that Float Stone on the Garbodor because he's got Starmie, he's got the Steam Up abilities on the Volcanions, so we have to do something. And I'm actually going to opt to Brigette. I could have played in here, but he's already got Starmie out. He can reuse energy, do whatever he wants anyway. I think I'd rather just kind of start focusing on these Trash Avalanche Garbodors. And it may look like we're losing really, really bad right now, but it's not necessarily the case because my opponent is finally starting to burn through their item cards. And so if I can just get him to keep doing that, maybe just a string of Trash Avalanche Garbodors can kind of take him down that way. So he's going to continue to use that Steam Up ability. He's going to be knocking out Trevenant and going down to 2 prizes. So it really puts me on like a 2 or 3 turn timetable here. And he's going for a Sycamore, which might actually cost him because I think he discarded like 2 or 3 item cards. So, I mean, at this point, he's gone through a lot of items. As long as he goes through like 9 items, we're good. But as you can see, he's gone through a ton of item cards. So he's being aggressive. Maybe he thinks he can win in a couple turns so he doesn't have to worry so much. But you do have to worry because Garbodor... if I'm shutting off his abilities, he can't use Space Beacon, he can't get those fire energies to attack, and Garbodor can definitely win that prize exchange. So I play an N to 2, and I will go ahead and get the Ultra Ball, and that's going to get me the Garbodor. So let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get that Trash Avalanche Garbodor, and that should be more than enough this time to take a knockout. I'm sure it's doing like 200 plus damage, so we should be in good shape. Yeah, 260 damage, so he's got 13 items in the discard. So at this point, he's probably wondering to himself, should I even attack? Should I wait so I can just kind of Guzma out the Tapu Lele? And he actually passes, so this is going to give us a huge opening here. We've already got enough for this knockout, so we can just have to focus on the benched Volcanion since it is powered up here. So I'm just trying to figure out who should I actually attach to. Does it make sense to attach to the Trevenant or the Phantump or the Tapu Lele? And I think Tapu Lele makes more sense just because he doesn't really have many trainer cards in his hand anymore. He's discarded most of his deck. He's probably going to continue to discard it. So Trevenant's probably served his purpose at this point. So I'll play an N, ending my opponent down to 2 cards, and I will Rescue Stretcher, just get the Trevenant back, why not? Or the Garbodor, I should say, just so I can have a second Garbodor ready. And at this point, I think I'm in range of winning the game because, even if he knocks out the Garbodor that's active, my Garbodor on the bench can actually take a knockout. So unless he can Field Blower the Garbodor, Field Blower that Garbodor, maybe Guzma out the Tapu Lele and double Steam Up. I mean, that's really what he has to have. So he doesn't have it. He knocks out Garbodor. And because of that, I think we can already take a knockout. I think we're doing 200 and some damage here. But that wouldn't win us the game. So I'm just trying to think if there's any other plays that I need to do before I use Trash Avalanche for the knockout here. And I'm thinking I'm just going to end him to 1 because, otherwise, he might draw something he can get. So I end him to 1, I get a DCE, probably going to put that on the Tapu Lele just in case he sets up another one. But there we go. As you guys can see, Garbodor, the Trash Avalanche Garbodor definitely saved the day, came back in the late game, was able to knock out the Baby Volcanion, the EX, and was set up for another knockout on the other EX. So really good late game finish. And Trevenant was, was holding its own, didn't really help us a whole lot there. We didn't get to use Drampa, but I think Garbodor, definitely is the MVP of the deck, definitely the primary attacker of the deck. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to have more Burning Shadows coverage, so let me know in the comments what decks you guys want to see, if there are any other kind of videos you want me to make, because I'm trying to branch away from just deck profiles and deck battles. If there are any topics you want me to cover in the Pokemon TCG, just let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, this has been Zach with Top Deck Nation. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.